My name is Moses, Los Catadores de Agave. We're at Clapton Craft in Lower Clapton. And we're here with Ben from Pensador, founder of Pensador and Desdeya. So we're here to talk about his brand, all of the really cool stuff that he's doing with the brand. How are you, Ben?
I'm good, man. Yeah, all good.
So here in front of us, we've got the range. But I want to, before we get into it, I want to know first, what was the first this is agave moment you ever had, and what bottle or spirit was it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess the first agave spirits I tried, like a lot of people, were bad tequilas.
Of course.
Sierra, Jose Cuervo. I wasn't that into them. But the first moment I had where I was really like, this stuff's amazing, was in Mexico City.
Okay.
I first went to Mexico in 2015. And on my first night there, we went to a little cantina in the Centro Historico. And I hadn't really done my homework. I hadn't really brushed up on my Spanish. I just had this one phrase that I figured was going to be, enough to get me through, which was "que recomienda," meaning what would you recommend? And I could just go into like any bar, any restaurant, and be like "que recomienda," and they would just bring out something and I'll eat it. And most of the time, it would be delicious. And I did that on my first night in this cantina in Mexico City. I said "que recomienda," and the guy just pulled out this like unmarked bottle of clear spirit and poured me a glass and said mezcal, and I was like, "The fuck's mezcal?" But I had a sip, and it was this actual like genuinely life changing moment. You know, like the flavors were incredible, like the depth of flavor, like the varieties. And that night we drank a whole load of mezcals and just like a huge varied flavor profile, the complexity, the strength of flavor, and that all coming from the base material, from the plant, and not from additives, not from added botanicals. Like that blew my mind. And that was kind of the beginning of it all, really.
That's incredible. So from what you remember about that experience, what were the first flavor profiles that you got initially?
I mean, that evening, like obviously we drank a lot of mezcal, so it's kind of hard to remember everything exactly. But it was kind of just like picking out like herbal notes, picking out fruity notes. There were like some that tasted kind of cheesy. There was just like, it was just each glass. There was so much in each glass, and the next glass would taste totally different, and that was so exciting, and that was a big draw.
So what made you find, what made you start Pensador and then, of course, there's that?
Yeah, so I didn't like there and then think I'm going to start a mezcal brand. But I did from that point on know that I was really into mezcal. So for the rest of the trip, I spent a lot of time finding producers, finding bottles, finding brands, just drinking a lot of mezcal, buying a lot of mezcal. And then when I came back to the UK, I had a bag full of mezcal and I was sharing that stuff with people, and that was really exciting. I really liked that process. And then also I went out in London and I went to different bars, different restaurants, the small number of places that were pushing mezcal at that time. And I tried what they had, and I found that it was a bit limited compared to what I tried in Mexico. And at that point, I started to be like, maybe there's a thing here.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. So we're going to, over the course of this, whilst we're talking, we're going to taste through the range.
Nice.
So all of this is available currently at Clapton Craft. You can buy it online or in their stores. These are available. So we're going to start off with the first one, the Espadin.
Exactly. Beautiful. So
tell us about this one.
Yes, this is our pure Espadin. It's made by a guy called Onofre Ortiz. So all of Pensador mezcals come from the area of Miahuatlan in southern Oaxaca, and that's a really big part of what the brand is all about. It's that terroir, it's that mezcal culture. But they come from different producers and they have different agaves. And the most classic expression, the kind of leading expression, is the Espadin from Onofre Ortiz. And Onofre's a real ledge. He's got a kind of crazy personal story. He grew up in Miahuatlan, but when he was growing up, that was before mezcal really took off. So there was very little in the way of work in his area. So he felt like he had to leave his hometown, leave where he grew up, and he went to the United States, and he was there for 10 years, sort of chasing the American dream, trying to find his way. But he never really managed to make ends meet. He never really made more money than he was spending. He ended up in some pretty dodgy circles as well. Ended up leaving the United States after 10 years of being there. And then he came back to Oaxaca, back to Miahuatlan. At that point, his dad had started selling mezcal, and he was making a little bit of money out of that. So he got involved and learned how to do it from his dad. And now he's He's an amazing mezcalero.
Nice.
And this is what he does.
Let's try this one.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, salute. So tell us about like the flavor profiles, what you like about it, specifically this bottle.
Yeah. So with all our mezcals and most of the mezcals made in Michoacán, they are harvested what is known as capon. So the quiote, when it starts to grow, they cut that off and they leave the agave in the field for up to 2 more years.
Yeah.
And that means you get like overripe fruit, so you get added sweetness. So it's definitely got a higher sweetness than some mezcals.
What's the ABV on this one?
This is 47.5, which is quite typical of Michoacán. It's always sort of around between 47 and 50. The other thing which is typical is they tend to take slightly higher cuts of the distillate. Yeah. So you get more like top notes, you get more like estery, like fruity notes.
Yeah, really fruity.
Really some like grassy notes as well.
I mean, I get like the minerally fruitiness, a little bit of smoke in there, but not too heavy. And it's a good like kind of 47%.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, you know, with enough phrase mezcals, they're really well-rounded, they're really well-balanced. You get a nice long finish, and they're quite clean as well.
So, quick fire question. If you could only pair one of your drinks in a cocktail and you had to drink it for the rest of your life, what cocktail and what spirit are you picking?
I'm going to do the Ensamble Paloma.
Okay. Any regular Paloma, are you twisting it a little bit?
Pretty regular. I mean, I like having some fresh juice in there if possible. So I like some fresh grapefruit with either, you know, soda or grapefruit soda. No, I'm keeping it pretty simple because it's the one drink for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? I'd probably keep it pretty straight. But the Ensamble, the profile of the Ensamble just works so well with grapefruit. And that's also the first of the Pensador expressions. Okay. So it's got a special place in my heart as well.
So I've got this one at home and I've got the Desdeya at home as well.
Nice.
Funny, in one of our interviews, we spoke to a lady named Zaloran, who's a agave educator, and she said Paloma as well. So Paloma's proven very popular.
Yeah, I mean, like, as your one cocktail forever, you know, like, I mean, I would miss margaritas.
Yeah.
I would miss Negronis. Yeah. You know, I'd miss martinis, but it's just the one that, like, really fits all scenarios, you know.
Let's talk about the Ensamble.
Cool. So the Ensamble, like I just said, this is the original Pensador expression.
Yeah.
It's made by a man called Agave Garcia and his son, Jose. And I met Agave and Jose in 2016.
Okay.
So when I was setting up Pensador, I basically went out to Oaxaca. I got a car and I just drove from town to town trying to find mezcaleros and trying to find the best mezcal that I could. And that process taught me a lot about the regional differences in Oaxaca. Yeah. Depending on where you are in Oaxaca, mezcals taste very different. And I really like the mezcals from Michoacán. And when I was in Michoacán, on one of my first days there, I met Agave, and he's had incredible mezcal. He wasn't working with any brands at the time.
Yeah.
I really liked him as a person as well. He was very kind. He was very like hospitable.
Yeah.
So we worked on this expression together. He was doing a lot of ensambles. He wasn't doing this particular ensamble, which is Espadin Madriquiche, and the Espadin is 70%, Madriquiche 30%.
Oh, okay.
And we tried a bunch of different balances of the two agaves. I really liked those two agave expressions. We tried 50-50, and actually the Madriquiche kind of like overwhelmed it a little bit.
Okay.
So in order to get the flavor of both, we changed that ratio.
Yeah.
And this is what we landed on, and it worked really well.
The nose in this one is way sweeter than the
So the smoke is really dialed down on this. And that's because the way they cook it, they let the embers die like right down. So it's basically like the fire's sort of almost going out, but the rocks on top of the fire are super hot.
Yeah.
And then they put the agave on. So the agave cooks more by the hot rocks than by the fire. So it's less smoky.
Yeah.
And then the other significant thing about this is a really long fermentation. So this batch in particular has been fermented 2 lots. One was 23 days, one was 26 days.
Okay.
Normally with mezcal, you're looking at like a 5 to 8 day fermentation with artisanal mezcal. It's a really long fermentation, and that means that you get more esters, you get more fruity notes, and this one has got a real like raspberry, like figgy vibe going on for me.
So you obviously are very versed in mezcal. You have been for a while. You've got a few brands of your own. What is the biggest kind of misconception that you find that regularly exists when you're speaking to people who aren't necessarily in the agave space or that are laymen?
Well, the classic one is, oh, that's smoky tequila, which is like, it's not like completely wrong, but it's the wrong way of looking at it.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
It's kind of more like tequila is unsmoky mezcal, in terms of the history of the two categories. And then also mezcal is so much more than smoky tequila in terms of the variety, the complexity, the culture behind it. Interestingly, now it's kind of flipped, and like it used to be when I first started, people were like, "Oh, mezcal, that's the cheap one with the worm in it," and I was like, "No, it's actually kind of more premium than tequila." But I'm getting a lot of people coming in now who are just like, "Oh, mezcal, that's like the fancy one, isn't it?"
Yeah.
Which like is also kind of wrong,
Sure.
but it's less, it's wrong in a better way, I'd say.
As someone who's kind of gone on the journey myself, I love tequila. That's kind of my entry point into agave spirits. But obviously I'm learning through mezcal and raicillas. What I have found, the more I've learned about it, is there seems to be a bit of snobbery between mezcal fans and tequila fans. Do you find that? What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's like a load of different categories, isn't it? Like I'm sure, like you get it both ways in wine. For example, you get people being snobby about natural wine. You just say that like natural wine is like wine with flaws in it, and then you have natural wine people saying that non-natural wine is like all manipulated and like fucked up. So yeah, you get snobbery. Like whenever you have, I guess, these things that have like really intense followings, you get a bit of snobbery. But yeah, definitely mezcal people can be very dismissive of tequila, which is not right. Tequila is amazing as well.
Yeah. So in your journey of tasting your mezcals, or maybe doing some tastings or pairing it, what has been the most unique pairing that you found, food or otherwise, with any one of your mezcal or your tequila now?
I had a really fun time exploring this actually for a trade show in Scotland, and it was in Glasgow, I think, and they wanted something exciting, more exciting than just tasting the spirits. They suggested food pairings.
Yeah.
So me and my friend went out to M&S and we bought all of the nibbles. And I needed nibble HQ, and we thought, M&S excels in nibbles. Exactly. M&S do their nibbles well, so we got all the M&S nibbles. And then we lined up the mezcals and we locked the door and we sat down and we just worked our way through all the food and all the mezcals, and we found some really good pairings in it. Yeah. We definitely found that we had a load of sweet stuff, but the sweet stuff didn't really work. So we had a load of sweet stuff, but the sweet stuff didn't really work. But the savory stuff all worked quite well. But there's definitely some things that work better than others. And what we found was really good was quite like a mild cheddar with the Espadin, like something like the smokiness and the sweetness worked really well. The Ensamble we did with a sun-dried tomato.
Wow, okay.
Which is crazy, actually. That was like a real big flavor explosion.
That sounds incredible. I love sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna have to try
really, really good. Getting that like umami. There's kind of like a bit of umami in mezcal as well. That worked really well. And then the Especial, it was a different batch actually. It was a batch that was a little bit more like herbal and brighter, and that went really well with olives.
Okay.
But all of those sort of like savory nibbles work really well.
So one thing I found on the mezcal journey for myself is actually I find mezcal and raicillas, more so raicillas, but mezcals as well, to be way broader in the depth of pairings. You get way more of a extensive flavor profile across all of the different mezcals and raicillas compared to tequila. So tequila, without being generalizing, like with añejos, you typically go with maybe like fatty meats or like desserts. With blancos, you may go with maybe some citrusy stuff or maybe some cheeses. With repos, a little bit in between of that. But I find with these, you can almost match like specific items on menus and really, really go to town.
Yeah, no, totally. It's true. I mean, it is more varied and more specific flavors. So yeah, you can make it work really well. With the tequila, this is a blanco, and I actually found that work really well with chocolate.
So I'll come on to the tequila,
Yeah,
because we done a blanco blind tasting at our club, so I'll tell you about that. But
nice.
let's go on to the Especial.
Cool. So this Especial is a limited series of Destilado de Agave. So it's actually not certified as mezcal, and that is because it's coming from producers who are in the Miahuatlan Valley,
outside of the regions.
No, they're in the right region, and they're making it in the same way. And locally, they would call it mezcal, but they are not certified.
Okay.
They're not registered with the regulators.
Yes.
And that'll be because, for the most part, they're either making too little, like they're making like a couple of hundred liters a year, like 1 or 2 batches. It's most of themselves. They're like, it's not even really it's like barely even a part-time hustle, you know what I mean? So they're not really bothering to do all the paperwork. And then there are other ones where it's like an independence thing. They're like, I've always made mezcal, my family have always made mezcal, the government have come along 20 years ago and said they can't call it mezcal anymore. Like, they're quite sort of, you know, suspicious of the government anyway. They don't have that many interactions with the government. They like grow their own food and stuff. So they're just a bit like, I don't want to do that, you know? But because a lot of them make amazing mezcal, I wanted to still be able to put out some of that liquid.
Yeah.
So I didn't put the word mezcal on this bottle. It's a limited edition, so each batch is pretty small. The biggest one I've done is like 400 liters. The smallest was 30 liters.
Okay.
So really small.
Yeah.
And this is the 4th edition, which is available to the public. And this one is a pure Tobala from a man called Victor Ramos.
Okay.
It's a Mengoli. And Mengoli is cool. They have a lot of amazing mezcaleros. It's like a beautiful kind of rural scene when you're looking one way, and then you turn left, and you've got the biggest prison in the whole of Mexico right there, which is like one of those crazy American-style prisons, like watchtowers and barbed wire and stuff. So it's a pretty weird combination, but...
I get a lot of cheese on the nose. A lot of cheese. And even on the palate a little bit as well.
Yeah, for me, this is like... It's got a kind of like watermelon, almost like sort of bubblegum like sweetness, but then like a lot of smoke. Like, this is the smokiest mezcal I've ever bottled, I would say.
I don't even think it's overly like smoky, to be honest. At least to me.
There are much smokier mezcals out there.
Yeah, for sure.
But in Miahuatlan, they tend to be less smoky. And I think what that would be was just with this one, Victor has cooked the agave a little bit longer in the fire, and they've come out a little bit more like charred, a little more blackened. And that gives it that like real kind of barbecue-y flavor, you know? Yeah.
So what's the ABV on this one?
This is 46.7, so this is on the lower side. I put out a couple of Especials that are above 50.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of the range. It's like, this is just below 47, and it gets up to like sort of 51-ish.
Another quick fire question. What would you say is your biggest kind of agave spirits hot take that you may feel strongly about that you don't feel like other people would necessarily agree with?
I would say with mezcal that the region is more important than the agave varietal.
Okay.
That's like the most important thing. Where does it come from? Like, if you want to know what it's going to taste like, the best indicator is where it comes from, then what agave is, which I think a lot of people don't talk about.
So on that, actually, because this is a really important part of your process in terms of the mezcals you produce, tell us a little bit more. You kind of touched on it at the start, but tell us a little bit more about the kind of small batch nature and like the real focus on the regions, because you mentioned that, like how that actually has an impact. Because I came to one of your tastings at Silk Stockings in Dorset, and you really leaned heavily into the impact of that, and one batch may be produced with one producer compared to another, or mezcalero, compared to like a tequila where it's way more sophisticated in terms of the production and high scale.
Yeah. So the question is, talk more about the kind of local,
exactly,
the local quality. Yeah. So I mean, a part of that is about the growing conditions of the agave. Miahuatlan is very dry. It gets less rainfall than the rest of Oaxaca. They have the biggest biodiversity of agave in the whole of Mexico, in Miahuatlan. They've got loads of Karwinskis, like 20 different types of Karwinski. So that's important. The soil in Miwatlan, like, it's a quite poor quality for growing crops. Like, you can't really grow corn or beans, but like it grows agave really well. They take a bit longer to grow there, but they tend to be a bit sweeter. Like I mentioned earlier, you get this quite sort of like mineral note in it as well. But as well as the growing conditions, I think actually the most important thing is the local appreciation of what a good mezcal is, because that's the way recipes and techniques develop. It goes from neighbor to neighbor and from cousin to cousin, so you get localized production styles and localized opinions about what a good mezcal is. And I think, like I said earlier, I think with Miwatlan, they tend to take slightly higher cuts, so like less tails, so you get less of the sort of like oily, heavy notes in the tails and more the sort of lighter, brighter notes in the heads. And I think that's a really important part of what Miwatlan mezcal is all about.
From speaking to all the mezcaleros that you've spoken to, what's the biggest thing that you've learned that you didn't know before starting this process?
I mean, like, most of what I know is from speaking to the mezcaleros. I think definitely take the age of agaves with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because a lot of stuff online has exact numbers for the age of agave,
loose,
but when you speak to different producers, they all say different things. So I think it's a bit more varied than maybe some people would suggest.
Great. So we have the last bottle, which is the newest to market, which is Desdeya, Tequila Desdeya. Tell us why you started Tequila Desdeya, and I'll kind of tell you our experiences of it at the club.
Wicked, nice. So I started working on Desdeya in 2021. And like I said, I originally drank bad tequila. When I came to Mexico and tried mezcal, I was like, this stuff's fucking amazing. When I came to Mexico and tried mezcal, I was like, this stuff's fucking amazing. This has nothing to do with tequila. It's a totally different game. But then I did learn that actually there is really good tequila out there as well. And I think, for me, mezcal is more complex, both the flavors and the culture. It's a much bigger, bolder flavor, but that's not what you always want, Like, I love really punchy, hoppy IPAs, but actually I spend more time drinking lager, which is like a much more like mellow, low-key drink. And in a way, that's kind of what tequila is for me, Like, it's something which is much more easygoing and in a way more relaxing to drink. So I got really interested in tequila as well. And I was also interested in a few features of the tequila market in the UK in particular, where it's just a little bit homogenous. There's a little bit of like a tendency to all do the same thing. Like, everyone is bottling at 38 or 40% ABV. Everyone does Blanco Repoñejo. Like, I was like, can you do something a little bit different? And that question is what kind of started it. And it wasn't straight away like, I'm going to do a tequila. It was more like, let's go to Jalisco. Let's meet with some distilleries and see if I can do something different.
Interesting as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that was kind of the impetus for it. And it took 3 years to find the right distillery to work with, because I mean, it was kind of the opposite problem to mezcal. With mezcal, it was always about finding someone who had enough capacity to start a brand. And with tequila, it was about finding someone who was willing to experiment and make something bespoke for the sort of volume that I could afford to buy, which in tequila terms is small, but in mezcal terms is big. So yeah, it took 3 years to find the right people, and then another year to develop this bespoke recipe.
So I came to your tasting, as I said, at Silk Stockings. That's where I was introduced to your brand, but also Desdeya. And I'm a big fan of tequila, my partner as well. And I had it, I was like, this is incredible. I bought it immediately.
Nice.
So I bought it on the day, gave my partner some, and we've loved it ever since. And so so at the club we do tequila, agave spirits tastings. One of the tastings we'd done a Blanco blind, and it was one of the 4, and it was very, very popular amongst the 4, and so much so that the person who won a contest that they'd done actually requested for the bottle of Desdeya.
Nice, man.
So it goes down really well. Why I love it, should we try it now?
Yeah.
Why I love it, it's very creamy, got some orange peel notes. on the website, I know you have like cashew as one of the flavor profiles,
Mm-hmm.
but we've gone through like 3 bottles at home.
Nice.
But we have another one. So
wicked.
Yeah, we're big fans.
Cheers, man.
Salute.
Yeah,
So
I saw
tell us about this one.
I saw the lineup for that blind tasting as well, and they were all like really good.
Yeah, some really good blancos.
That was amazing to be well received in such good company as well.
Yeah, because we done the Blanco blind not as a competition, so that's why we didn't rank it.
Yeah,
but it was more a celebration of blancos because I think for a lot of people who are new into tequila, Blanco they find quite overwhelming.
Yeah.
But that is the most native to what tequila should be, right?
Yeah.
And
there's kind of like a weird progression of it. We'll start off drinking añejo and then work down to Blanco.
Yeah,
and then
or
like,
Repo. I found we found
yeah.
people start with Repo,
right,
and consistently people fall in love with the Repos at our tastings before any others.
Right. Okay. Cool.
And so it was more a celebration of that. But yeah, tell us the nose and this, and then the flavor profile.
Well, not gonna lie, the nose. There's a little bit of Tobala still in
course,
there.
yeah. But it's a nice blend, right?
It is a nice blend, actually, yeah.
Do you have, actually on that, do you have an infinity bottle where like you keep a little bit of every single batch you make?
I don't have like a single one, but I do sometimes have that because I have, as well as all of these in my flat, I've got loads of bottles where I bought a sample thinking I might release a batch of it and I didn't, but I have like, 100 bottles of mezcal in my flat, and quite often with those ones, because when you get near the bottom of a bottle, you kind of need to drink it, otherwise it starts over-oxidizing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just like blend some of them.
Okay.
And it's interesting with that, I don't know if you've done it before, but when you first blend them, they taste kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then when you let it sit for a while, it starts working, yeah.
I have kept one. I forgot, but I stopped because I don't know what's in it. I didn't keep name of all of the brands, so. But
it barely matters at some point. Once you've got like 5 in there, like it's just the mystery bag, isn't it?
Yeah. So and then the flavor profile. What are you getting on this?
Yeah. So I mean, the main notes for this, that you have that Highland agave character, which has got a little bit of sort of like citrus oils, a little bit like orange blossom.
Yeah.
And then you get this like nuttiness, like I say cashew nut, but some people have said coconut. Like there's some sort of kind of creamy nut vibe going on.
There's a creaminess there,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And then like a white chocolate, like a cacao, or like a sort of a cocoa butter, almost like something buttery going on in there as well. Sort of chocolatey note. But really, overall, the thing that it tastes and smells more like than any other tequila that I've tried before is freshly cooked agave.
Agave, yeah.
And when you go to a distillery and they open the oven door and you smell that, you take a piece out and you bite it, it smells and tastes like that, which tequila kind of should, but often it doesn't.
So what made me come to your tasting initially was the nom. So before I drink any tequila, I always research the nom.
Mm-hmm.
And I researched the nom. I was like, I have to be there because I wanted to try some of the tequila. And obviously, that's an important aspect of, I'm sure, the research that you've done and the distilleries that you visited, right?
100%. I mean, I visited loads of distilleries. I visited all the distilleries that are sort of top ranked that work with private labels.
Yeah.
I also visited a bunch of other ones, kind of like to do like due diligence. But it was the case that the top ranked ones did have better tasting liquid, and it was kind of in the end choosing between those ones. And this one, Nom 1468, they make Lalo tequila, which you can't get in Europe or the UK.
We have a couple bottles at home.
Nice.
Big fans.
Yeah. And I tried that before and I really like that. But yeah, I went to all the other top ranking distilleries as well. I went to a distillery where they make Magenta. I went to the original Cascanes distillery.
Nice.
I went to Cascaween. I went to 1414, which is Viva Mexico. And both in terms of the flavor profile and the vibe, this is my favorite one.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's really, really good juice. Definitely recommend it. And it's one thing I like about your range is really affordable. I've bought a few of the Ensamble from when I bought it was like around £48. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
And this is around like £31 to £35.
Yeah. So this one you can get, it's sort of between 42 and 48.
Yeah. But yeah, really, really affordable range. on that note, if you had to recommend a complete agave newbie to pick one of your range, irrespective of budget, just you want them to get a feel for what the character is you're building, what are you telling them to pick?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that before. I would say that the tequila is the most user-friendly product. So if I didn't know anything about the person, I would say the tequila is the one which is most likely to appeal to the biggest number of people.
Okay.
But the mezcal is kind of more like, because the tequila's new, the project feels more like the mezcal, you know? And in that case, the Espadin out of the three is probably the one which people go for. Well, it's probably the one that appeals to most people out of the mezcals, or the most new people. I would say people who know their mezcal prefer the Ensamble and the Especial.
Okay.
People who haven't tried mezcal before tend to prefer the Espadin.
Okay.
Yeah, but just get all of them. Easy.
Definitely, buy them all.
So
actually, there's one more thing. So I'm going to hop out of frame quickly. But you have this.
Yeah.
So this is currently, from what I remember, only available at Clapton Craft, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Tell us about this.
So this is really cool. It's a little canned mezcal margarita, which is a collab between myself, Clapton Craft, where we are today, and White Box, which is a canned cocktail company based in Edinburgh. And this happened because I met the White Box guys ages ago. We share a sales cooperative. So me and White Box and a few other brands put in money to pay for a sales guy in Scotland, who's done a great job with Pensador. And then I was also the sort of main mezcal, kind of the only mezcal in Clapton Craft.
Yeah.
So when Clapton Craft went to White Box, so they wanted to do an exclusive canned cocktail.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do a mezcal margarita. There was only one mezcal they could be, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And then they did a great work on the artwork as well. That's their Clapton Cross link. And they're great. Yeah, they're delicious. Apparently they sell better than anything else here as well. So yeah, get yourself one. I would say if you have it on ice, it's even better. And actually, if you put in a little bit more mezcal, it's even better as well.
Adding some juice.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the good stuff.
Great, thank you, Ben.
What does Desdeya mean?
Good question. So Desdeya comes from the Spanish. It's quite a grubby bottle I have here. This should be more pristine, but you get the idea. Desdeya comes from the Spanish desde ya, meaning literally since now, from now. But it can also be used to mean right now. And for me, that's kind of just like the essence of tequila. You know, tequila, when you drink tequila, you're like, the night starts right now. You know, we're going to have it right now. Let's go, you know. And that's why the illustration is also this kind of like impulsive, like hedonistic scene we have here. Because for me, that's what tequila's all about. Mezcal, Pensador, it's more introspective, it's more pensive, it requires your attention. Tequila, let's have a good time, you know. That's the idea.
And Pensador is not the actual full name, it's El Camino de Pensador.
Right. Yeah. El Camino del Pensador, which means like the path of the thinker, or the way of the thinker. And it's really because the distillery that I first started working with, Atenogenes and Jose, their Palenque, is on a road called La Calle Pensamientos, which means the road of thoughts. So yeah, it is the path of the thinker. It's also because it's the thinking man's drink, you know, thinking man's spirit. That's the idea.